Hi everyone, welcome to Epic Chess, the channel that helps you improve your chess fast. In today's video I want to look at a key rook endgame position that every player should know to help you convert these lone pawn rook endgames. So the Lucena position is characterized by a pawn on the 7th rank here with the king in front of it, and the enemy king here is cut off by the attacking rook down this file, and the defending rook is on the opposite side of the pawn here. So we can see that black has a rook on b2, which is on the opposite side of the board to where the white rook is. Now the problem that white is faced with in this position is he'd like to move his king away to then queen the pawn, but the moment he starts moving the king out of the way, the black rook can start giving checks from behind, constantly harassing the white king. Now we can see here that white can't step to the b file at the moment because the black rook is cutting that, and therefore the white king would like to step to the d file to get out of the way of the pawn and then allow the pawn to push down and queen. At the moment the black king is boxing in the white king, and with white to move in this position, a logical starting move is to play rook to e1 check. And this now forces the black king away, so it has to give ground with, say, a move like king to f7. And this now allows the white king to escape to the d file, king d7, threatening to queen the pawn. But this is where now the problem comes in. So black can start checking, and now the king simply can't escape these checks. If it comes up the board behind the pawn, we check again. If it comes back here, we check again. And this pattern can just keep repeating. If the white king tries to step to the other side of the board, then again black can check, and if the white king decides to step to the a file, well, we can continue checking, or we can even, in this position, come behind the pawn to stop it queening in this manner. The white king would then have to come back, and once again we continue checking. And if the white king comes here, we can see that we haven't actually made progress. So it begs the question, from this position, how do we make progress as white? And the technique we use is called building a bridge. So you need to build a bridge with your white rook in this position. As we mentioned, the whole thing that we're trying to achieve here is stop the black rook from checking the white king from behind down these files. And the only way that we're going to do that is by interposing our own rook in the way of these checks. And so this is how we do it. We lift the rook now to the 4th rank. It's actually black to move in this position, so we'll imagine that black plays a waiting move like rook to b3. White can now play rook to e4. Let's say black continues waiting, and now we step out with the king again with king to d7. So black comes across and checks. We come behind the pawn. Black checks again, and now here's the key. This time when we step away and black checks us again, instead of coming back to the c6 square, we now step up the board back onto the c file. So when now black checks this time, we can jump in, block with the rook, and after the rooks are exchanged, we then queen the pawn, and the black king can't get across in time to stop it, as you can see. If we just come back to here for a moment, it does beg the question, well, what if the black rook didn't continue checking? What if instead a waiting move was played, like say rook to c1, just stopping the pawn from queening and leaving the white king alone for a minute? Well, now we can just jump our rook up the board by 1 square, and it's exactly the same concept. We're still going to bridge to interpose the rook here, but we're doing it on a different file because of the way in which black played. So let's say the black king attacks the rook. Well, we just jump it across, and coming back here, if black waits again with the rook, then again we just jump it across. So a really important position to know and be aware of. And if I just come back to this starting position, the key things you need to remember are that you have to use your rook to form a bridge and stop the black rook from checking your king. So whether you do that via the 4th rank or the 5th rank depends on the way in black plays the position, but that's the general concept which you're striving for in order to convert this endgame into a full point. So I hope you found this video really helpful. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I hope to see you again in another video.